Have you heard about attachment theory and how attachments can actually create problems in our physical body? I find this so fascinating, and I'm really delighted today to welcome Ana Paula Munoz to the podcast, to Wellness by Design, so that we can talk about this. She's an expert in this, and we're going to learn so many insights. I'm so excited about this. Anna, welcome to Wellness by Design today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here too. I'd love to hear, and I know the audience would love to hear, what got you into this line, this angle of approaching wellness through attachments. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So, first off, I've studied a lot of different modalities and from more um exploring the psyche and somatics and energetics and going all the way into the energetic side of the spectrum or even spiritual. Um, I noticed that sometimes there can be these huge transformations of how we perceive the world, the way that we feel in the world. But oftentimes there are certain pieces that are missed that feel very foundational. And what that ends up being is the nervous system and the attachment system. And our attachment, the way that we're wired for attachment in the world. And no matter where you're on your journey or what path you're taking, um, traditional or non-traditional, attachment is so key as a foundational aspect because it's looking at how you connect with others, how you connect with yourself, how you connect with the world. And it's based on the truth that we are wired to connect.
So
We
true.
we come into this world neurologically wired to connect with others. And more often than not, unfortunately, that need and that what we come in expecting is not fully met. And that's called a neural expectancy. We come in wired to have a certain relationship with our primary caretakers, with our mother, our father, or, whoever they end up being in each person's life. And oftentimes there hasn't been enough education or um, like passing of knowledge of how to actually behold a new being that has entered this world, so oftentimes there's a series of ruptures, a series of things that happen in our developmental years, which is from prenatal, when we're in our mama's belly, all the way to around 7 or 8. And of course these ages can be a little blurred.
Mhm.
And um and what happens in those years oftentimes is a series of attachment ruptures that create an attachment style, a way in which we have learned to relate to the world outside of us and ourselves. So that's why it's such a primary piece that I feel everyone gets to look at some point. And that's why I feel so fascinated about it, because having seen so many different modalities, this just feels like a very, very important component to
Mhm.
well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know all these studies are coming out saying that the biggest indicator of health and longevity is really the quality of our relationships. So we know it's
Yeah.
important. We feel it, right? Loneliness is very tough, but I think
Mhm.
in my own journey, so you came about this kind of through your work and really zeroed in on attachments. Um, I have come about it sort of differently through my own experience with illness and really understanding that it was my relationship with myself, but also that relationship with myself was as a result of my relationships with others and messages that I got from others. So
Yes.
when we're talking about attachment, because some people may just be hearing this term for the first time, attachment, attachment theory, attachment repair. What we're really talking about is relationships. But so to you, what does, when we talk about attachment, um, what does that exactly mean to you?
Hmm. Yeah. To me, it feels like um, the way in which we're wired to connect with others, the way in which we have learned by seeing the templates of whoever our caretakers were and seeing how, like, were they consistent in their presence? Were they actually present? Even like maybe they were physically present, but were they fully present in the fullness of their self, right? Like energetically, emotionally, like were there these different facets there that could really meet us in the place where we needed to be met? If they weren't, then there's ruptures and beliefs that as babies we start making up about ourselves before we can talk, before all these things. They're somatic imprints that are held in the body that we may not be able to get out or process through therapy because we don't have the words for it. There are things that happened when we didn't have words, and it's just something we felt, and our body almost like made up a story that started to hold us in a different way. Like our tissues started to hold us differently because we needed to feel protected. We covered our heart to not feel that someone that we knew, like we depended on, caretakers, were being distant with us, or weren't listening when we cried, or weren't supporting us when uh, whatever could happen. Like there's all these different moments, and for each person is different. Like you could have siblings, same household, same parents, just different individuals that receive and process the same thing that may have happened radically differently. So we can't actually compare in that way. It's just each being comes desiring and needing something different, which is why attunement is so important, right? Attuning to the person that you're in front of and really connecting in a deep level. And in order to do that, we get to know and see those parts of ourselves. We get to actually um, like know how to stand in front of someone and in their pain and hold them through that no matter what, right? Without getting ourselves triggered. Like that takes a certain level of nervous system regulation and being able to hold safety in your own body to be able to hold another, right? Whether it's a friend or family member or whatnot, but just being able to hold each other and relate to each other and attune to each other emotionally, energetically, in all the different ways. So many parents aren't taught that because that's not what parents are told. That's not what many people are teaching right now. But
Hmm.
that's how we start, in a sense, avoiding attachment ruptures. And you can't always avoid all of them because nobody's going to have a perfect parent. Like nobody has and nobody will. But the other thing that we get to know besides attunement and trying our best to meet our children, if that's the case, or our family and friends and so on, and ourselves, is repair. Like learning how to repair when there's a rupture, learning how we get to come back to love, essentially come back to connection. And that is another huge piece because attachment ruptures are going to happen. But how do we respond when that happens? How can we come back to connection? Because when we don't, and we just put it under the rug and, oh, this never happened, that's just creating another belief or reinforcing a story of that we had over and over again in our childhood.
So some people, Anna, may be very aware that there was an attachment rupture, so the attachment wasn't made. But some people may not be aware. What would be some signs that they would of an attachment rupture, that the attachment that needed to be made wasn't made for the individual?
Yeah, usually individuals with a high traumatic load, right? Like a high ACEs score, let's say, usually have pretty significant attachment ruptures.
Mhm.
Um, and everybody has them to a certain extent, even if, your parents were present for you, even if, whatever the case is, because if we look at the levels of connection, we have connection to self, connection to other, connection to group, connection to community, connection to God or spirit or universe, whatever way anyone might relate to that. But in these different layers, there can be different ruptures, and those different ruptures within each layer can cause a certain uh, personality trait or dysfunction, right? So we start seeing it in, where are you triggered? How do you respond when there's an emotion that feels very intense and may overwhelm your system? So that's how you can start seeing, oh, do you have solidity in yourself? And the place where it's most obvious actually is in relationship, like your primary partnership, like if you're married or you're in a serious relationship, or even sometimes it might not get to be serious, like maybe you have a series of relationships that end up being short and might be very intense but short, and then the intensity is what drives the two people away,
Mm.
because that's another indicator as well, because there's um it feels like there isn't an ability to maintain a secure and healthy, growing, evolving relationship. So that would be another indicator. But let's say you do have a primary relationship and whatnot. Once you're in that relationship, the things start showing up. You might have been single and it was like, oh yeah, like woo, like I barely get triggered anymore. I've heard this a thousand times. I barely get triggered anymore, and then all of a sudden, you're in a relationship, and all of the past, all of the ways that maybe you were treated before, all of these things start showing up again, all of the stories and beliefs and ideas, because when you're in relationship with someone, that person, a serious relationship, that person becomes your primary attachment figure. And when that happens, it's so much more likely that you start projecting your primary caretaker onto that person. And that's where things can get very tricky, and that's where I encourage people to get support, because if you're noticing these same patterns over and over again, and it's like the same sensation in your body, just a different face because it's a different person
Mhm.
that you're with, then that's an indicator of, hey, there's something here that you could really work on and support yourself, so that you're not repeating the same kind of relationship over and over again, because that can cause so much pain. It's painful to be in an experience where you're push pull and insecure about this other person that you're with, and not knowing where you stand, not knowing yourself, feeling like you might be losing yourself. Like there's so many different facets um, that are really important to look at. And as you work through attachment, it it starts creating an internal safety, so much that you can be with everything that's happening in your relationship, and the vulnerability of really exploring this new world that you're co-creating with this other being. Like in a relationship, you're dancing with each other's parts, with each other's perspectives, and it's this multifaceted experience that I mean is beautiful, and it totally has its challenges. Even if you're in a secure relationship with someone else, there will be challenges, but how you move through them is, night and day.
So, our challenges or triggers in our relationships are an indicator of where we may have attachments that need repair.
Yeah.
Sounds like, and I see a lot of this. You didn't mention the connection between attachments, damaged attachments and physical health, but I've seen that a lot. And you mentioned the ACEs score, which is
Yeah.
the adverse childhood event score. And people with high ACEs score tend to have higher health problems, autoimmune issues, and things like that. And I've seen that myself with people with chronic pain. A lot of these, I call them, rather than personality traits, they're like more like behavioral adaptations, right? That we create
Yep.
because we've experienced this lack of safety. Let's just call it that, lack of a feeling of safety or security when we were little, and we create these behaviors. Like one for me that just kind of stands out for me was inability to take any criticism. I would
Mm,
just break down if anyone criticized anything.
mm,
And, I realized that over the years that this was actually um, part of the foundation of creating problems in my physical health,
mm.
and repair that and see. Well, we can't always go back, and we can't change the past. Or maybe some
Right.
people say you can change the past.
Yeah.
We can change because our our past is really our experience of the past, our thoughts about the experience of the past,
hmm
right? So
Yeah.
can we change the past? And by that I mean change our thoughts about our experience of the past.
hmm Yeah. I love how you pose that question. And yes, you can change the way, so you can change the thoughts of how you maybe relate to the past through therapy. But what's more important, I feel, from a physiological place, like if you have any autoimmune conditions or any body symptoms, um, and in addition to, like relational dynamics, or personality traits or patterns that you might feel like, oh, why am I like this? Right. So, so if you're noticing these pieces, um, I believe that the way to change your past in this way that you've said is not just changing your mind about it. It's not a mindset thing, it's a body thing.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
it's actually rewiring the way that you're perceiving. And to do that, it's through somatics, it's through the body. It's a bottom up approach versus a top down, which is what traditional therapy is. So that is huge. That's like a really big
I love
difference.
that, and that's an approach that has worked for me too. It's like we can think and think and think, but that kind of keeps us in our head and not really encompassing all of us, because we
Yeah.
get so many messages through our body. In fact, it's the primary way, right, that we get messages,
hmm
and it's the I believe the connection between our spiritual self and our, this mental physical body that we have. That is the interface, is through the body and
Yeah.
the nervous system and the other systems that we have, energetic
Mhm.
systems and so on.
Yeah.
So when you talk about using somatics, what are some of the tools, or what can you offer in that realm?
hmm Yeah. So for me, it depends what lens we're looking at. If we're looking at it through attachment healing, and if that's the main focus, then I'm trained in adult attachment repair model and AARM, and basically it's also called stick work. There's an attachment object, a transitional attachment object that I use with my clients, and we use that as a means to rewire the attachment system and repair the ruptures that have happened, because a really really huge thing around attachment healing is ruptures that happen in relationships get to be healed in relationship, right? And that means in relationship to a practitioner. Ideally, most people are not dating someone who can meet them there and not get triggered, right?
Right.
So it's important that you work out any relational issues with someone else. And that doesn't mean you can't get far with self-help and other ways of, processing things, but to really repair and create safety with other, it starts with like literally creating safety with other. And so that's the first thing if we're looking at it from an attachment lens. And if we're going more on like a somatic route, then it would be like to start off and to give the audience something that, like all of our listeners, something that that would be useful is starting to notice like where you are in your nervous system. Where do your triggers land within this map of your nervous system? And start knowing yourself and your body's responses to different things that are happening in your life, and whether it's different triggers or glimmers as they're called, and just start seeing, oh, where am I here?
Yeah.
And then as you're living life, notice like, oh, okay, this just happened. I'm feeling like this. I'm here. I'm in, I'm dysregulated and I'm in this part of my map right now. Okay, what can I do to move from this part of my map into this part of my map? Okay, like how can I come back to self safety and well-being within myself? How can I come back into regulation? And the more that you do that, the more that you start like not only teaching your body, hey, I got you, right? Like we're in this together. We're repairing these pieces, like this is happening. And so all of the parts of you that are, the little ones inside of you, they
Mhm.
start realizing, oh, there's actually an adult present, and this adult isn't going to leave me. She's got me, or they've got me, right? So that's something that people can, start getting curious about right away, and also befriending your emotions,
Mhm.
like starting to understand your emotions and how to start processing them instead of swallowing them in, but start maybe expressing them, or like learning techniques to consciously express your emotions so that you can support yourself and support the relationships that you're in, because bottling in things is just a pressure cooker that will explode one day.
Yeah, so true, so true. And a lot of people are sort of ignoring, maybe not, they're binge watching TV or scrolling or
Mm,
even reading books for escape. There's a lot
yeah.
of different things people are doing to not really acknowledge what they're feeling. You mentioned two things here that I think were really beautiful. Anna, you mentioned awareness, right? This awareness of like what's going on, and also approaching it with curiosity, which I think both of those are just so beautiful and necessary first steps to
Hmm.
acknowledging what's going on. Like for me, for example, come back to me just to help the audience to
Yeah.
like for years my shoulders were going up and up and up, and I was always had tight shoulders, and I would go to my Tai Chi class and my teacher would say, Jane, relax your shoulders, and I'd be like this going, I don't know what you're talking about. They are relaxed.
Oh.
They're so tight. And I have worked on that over the years. It's gotten a lot better, still tends to be a challenging area. And the other thing for me that I didn't notice was in my solar plexus area, how I was holding that so tight. And even now, like even right now, as we're talking, and I'm thinking about being whatever we're doing for this interview and trying to give the best to the audience, like I'll tend to tighten up there again. I have to go, okay,
Hmm.
okay, relax, but I didn't even know that these areas were tight. I mean, I had to go to the chiropractor and stuff like that for my shoulder and my neck, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that this solar plexus was tight. It became so normal that I didn't notice it. So it
Hmm.
took a lot of awareness to get to that point where we're going, oh, so like really, okay, this is what tight feels like. This is what relaxed feels like. And
Yeah.
really tuning into that. And the words that you use are ones that I use a lot too. And I teach, I'm here for you. It's safe. You can relax now. I got you. I'm not going to forget you anymore. Those kinds of things, those
Hmm.
messages of safety to calm the nervous
Yeah.
system. So yeah, I,
Hmm.
I love that. So So you talked about awareness and curiosity and feelings of safety. You also mentioned like different tools for release. So let's talk about some of those tools for release.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, and I also wanted to add to those to that compassion, like just always overarching and probably every facet of life, like just sprinkling in compassion for self, for other, and that just feels like yeah, imagine a more compassionate world, and yeah, that
Thank
just
you for that
feels
reminder.
important. Okay, so tools for release. Hmm. Okay. Okay, there's two that come up. Um, okay. So the first one, it's likely people have heard of it. And it's when you feel, hold on, let me frame this in a way. Um, okay. So when you're feeling, first off, it's seeing your emotional state. And I'm thinking, let's say you're dysregulated, something happened, you're very triggered. My invitation for you is to slow down, take a deep breath, and notice, oh, I'm triggered, right? And then know that there's hard emotions and soft emotions. And you might be wanting to explode. You might be like raging. And underneath the rage, there's something else, right? When you're in the rage, it's kind of hard to imagine there could be something else. But if you're able to disconnect from this emotional whirlwind enough to notice, oh, okay, I'm so angry right now. And what is underneath the anger? What's the more vulnerable state, right? Oh, it's grief. Oh, it's sadness. Oh, um, I'm actually super disappointed or I'm ashamed or whatever the thing is. And um and then just that helps kind of give you a little bit more of the story of what's happening, right? So that's one piece. And the other thing, so that's one little box here. And then another one would be even just as I expressed right now, saying, "Oh, I'm angry." Like I'm sad or oh, I'm sad. Um, Noticing how you're expressing and the languaging in which you're saying it, and then shifting that to I'm sad or and then I'm feeling sad, and then take another breath, and then and then I'm a part of me is feeling sad.
Ah,
Okay, got it. So you start creating a little bit of breathing room in between those so that you're no longer just crazy in the emotion,
mhm.
using the word crazy lightly here, like just feeling the intensity of it essentially, but you're actually giving yourself some spaciousness to be able to see that you're not this whirlwind, right? You're actually much greater than that. And this piece is just a piece that's moving through you and maybe even through a part of you. It's not all of you. So then you start to create some distance between what's going on and who you actually identify as, which, you know, hopefully you can have like also have a practice of connecting to the truth of who you are, which is so much beyond, you know, anything that we're experiencing day to day. Like we're in my perspective, we're these divine beings having a multidimensional experience.
Mhm.
And and so just connecting with what that means for you, and that might just mean that you're not just this emotion, and you are, an adult like that can experience a wide range of emotions. That's okay too. You don't have to go all the way to the divine, but but just noticing, like for me, that helps me, and it might help you. So
It
those are a couple tools. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is making me think about, that observer role, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I love that shift that you gave to go from I am, right, to I'm feeling, to a part of me, right? Knowing that that's not all of who we are. It's just
Yeah.
like in the moment part. And then that idea of allowing it to move through, I think is a really great image for people. So those are some great tools, and I really
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
I love to know, uh, well, first of all, is there anything we haven't covered yet that you really want to make sure the audience hears about?
Hmm. Um, I mean, just I want to sprinkle in a couple more tools of just giving a um my vote on like breath work, like breathing, like supporting yourself through breathing, emotional expression. Like if you're angry and that's all you can think and feel of, and you do not have the capacity to separate a little bit from that, go to your room and hit some pillows, like move the energy. Or if you're feeling stuck or frustrated or something like that, put on a song, move it through your body, feel that frustration. Like there's just so much around letting it move through you instead of resisting it. When we resist it, that's when it starts accumulating and we start getting like if we're feeling stuck and then we're angry at ourselves for feeling stuck and then we get more angry and then we're feeling ashamed that then because we were stuck we didn't do anything and we weren't productive and all of these different processes and constructs that we believe we need to do and uphold and whatever. Like we put ourselves in this spiral that is not necessary if you allow that energy to move and let it be okay that you're feeling a lot of different feelings, right?
So, especially in our society, and I would say especially for women, we're kind of really taught to like, keep a lid on those emotions and don't show
Yes.
them, and just like, and we bottle them up. And I see that a lot. Yeah, you're making me think about one time. I remember I got some really disappointing news at work, and I was so mad about it. And I remember saying to someone, I was so mad, I went home and washed the floor. And I didn't
Oh,
realize
no.
I was using a great tool there, but it was like I just
Yeah.
felt that I had to do something. But lots of times we don't do that. We just like sit and go and just say, okay,
Hmm.
forget about it and distract ourselves or whatever. So
Hmm.
that's a great tool. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we distract ourselves and just try to shove it under the rug or whatever, it's so disempowering to us. It's not allowing ourselves to be our full spectrum of expression, right? And that's so liberating and empowering once you allow that to exist, and it lets you be more of you more of the time. Otherwise, we're keeping certain pieces lidded
Mhm.
and that's not your authentic truth, and that is perceived by others. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, I always ask the guests what's one thing. So the show is called Wellness by Design. So it's about being intentional, right? So what's one thing someone could do today that's going to begin to initiate healing in their body? What would you say is one thing they could do?
Mm. Okay. So, what I would invite everyone to do is just be aware and notice yourself for today, right? And when you're noticing yourself, if you notice any like a mean part of you judging yourself or squishing you down or not letting you express something that you feel is appropriate to express, like or is, I don't know if appropriate's the right word there, but anyway, just noticing that and bringing in the compassion, like really practicing compassion and saying, hey, like, oh, you broke that glass. Okay. That's okay. Like we're going to get another glass. We're good. You don't have to, nitpick at yourself. And just bringing in that compassion of, hey, we get to have mistakes and it's okay, and the mistakes don't have to be mistakes. It's just, oh, I get to be more present when I put away the glass or whatever, right? So just noticing yourself and noticing how you communicate with yourself and how you hold yourself and support yourself through it. And it's reminding me of something really sweet that happened in a woman's circle like 2 weeks ago. And I'll just share quickly because this everyone was talking about their intentions of the year, and this is early 2024 right now. And I felt just like, I used to have these big intentions, and this year's just felt different. 2023 was um a huge, like, transformative initiatory year for me. And so early in 2024, I was just feeling like, like, the truth is, what is such a big priority for me right now, and what I'm intending to hold as true for the whole year, is like being the best parent I can be for all of my parts, and being the best version of me for the parts of me that get scared, that feel unsafe, that feel they need support, that feel dropped, that feel abandoned. All of this, that is the priority. And why I'm sharing this is because we get to, like, the basis of being a good parent to ourselves is having compassion and love and understanding for ourselves. And as we work on that, we also are expanding that onto others, onto our world, right? So yeah, I hope
I
that's
love that.
supportive.
That's really beautiful, being a
Yeah,
compassionate parent to yourself. Now, you're just so calm and lovely, and just you can hear the compassion in your voice. And I know that you are hosting this big event coming up. So, would you like to tell
yeah.
us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I'm so happy you're a part of it, Jane. Um, so this event is called Beyond Functional Medicine, and we're going into deeper layers of healing, and and there's around 40 experts, Jane included, and we talk about so many topics, like emotional well-being. We talk about the nervous system. We have Roland McCready talking about heart math. We have other experts talking about energetics and frequency for healing, especially, looking at autoimmune conditions, and also connecting back to the earth and the importance of that for our healing and our well-being. And we have Ashok Gupta of the Gupta method talking about brain rewiring, and Dr. Kat of Primal Trust as well. And just such beautiful experts that are incredibly skilled and trained and have created gifts for the world. And in these interviews, each person is sharing, their expertise, and just from a very value, like really trying to give the most value they can. And there's also bonuses and gifts and things like that. So
It's totally free too, right?
it's totally free. It's totally free. And there's an option to purchase it if you wanted to, of course. And if your schedule is busy. And yeah, it's amazing. So I hope you can join us. It's called Beyond Functional Medicine, and it starts really soon.
What are the dates?
Event screening starts March 25th, and it goes all the way until the 31st. So that's when you want to sign up. And yeah, and there will start being emails that people will get throughout February and March. So if you want to sign up sooner, please do. And yeah, you'll get all the information you need via email once you sign up, and you'll get some immediate bonuses as well, and some downloads and things like that. So it's really going to be a beautiful event.
I'm really excited about this summit and the topics and
Yeah.
people that you've got. So I'm going to be tuning in, and
Yay.
I'll share a link, of course. And there's a link in the description that people can sign up for totally free. So, Anna,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being a
Thank
guest on
you.
Wellness by Design today, and thank you for sharing your body of work in the world, and also for putting together this amazing event that you're hosting, Beyond Functional Medicine. And yeah,
Thank
just
you.
you're doing wonderful things and really teaching people how to empower themselves, which is really what this podcast is all about. So thanks for
Mm,
being a guest, and thank you too for all the people watching and listening. Please share this, sign up for that summit, and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of this, what insights you gained, because I know you did, and share it with people who need to hear it. So again, soon.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, everybody.